Hi everyone, this is Heather Lottinen from the Flourish Academy. This is episode 553. If you have not already, make sure you join us in our free private Facebook group. I'll have the link below, and also check out the Flourish Academy podcast. Today we're talking about the Apple announcement regarding the new iMac. And it's been a while since we actually touched base on the operating systems used by the Apple machines because there were some issues in the past. Okay, there are always issues, it seems, with a major update regarding the performance between the new operating system and Adobe's products, primarily Photoshop and Lightroom for us as photographers. My iMac that is sitting behind me is still running on Mojave. I never even updated it to Sierra, but my MacBook Pro, which is my test machine, is currently on the latest version of Big Sur, running Lightroom and Photoshop, I would say, adequately. And you know what? I did not check. I can't remember if my MacBook Pro, if I upgraded them. No, I didn't. So this has 8 gigabytes of RAM. And for those of you that are maybe new to this or unfamiliar, and by the way, there are for sure going to be people on YouTube trying to correct everything I say. This is for my photographer friends who maybe don't consider themselves super techie, but Lightroom and Photoshop require that you have 8 gigabytes or more of RAM. RAM stands for random access memory, and it is different from the storage that is on your machine. And your storage is probably measured in terabytes, 1 terabyte, 2 terabytes, etc. That's different. That's storage, that's file space, different from memory, which is processing power. Okay, the reason the Apple announcement intrigued me, did I finish saying that Big Sur on my laptop seems to be functioning? Yeah, I did say this. Well enough. I guess it still feels a little bit slow to me. Again, I have not updated my main working machine. That machine is a late 2015 build. It has 32 gigabytes of aftermarket memory. I typically don't buy my memory from Apple, and I don't get it when I am purchasing the machine because the price on Apple memory, if you've ever looked into this, is absolutely through the roof, like many, many times what it is when you can buy aftermarket memory, which I purchased from Other World Computing. So that machine came with 8. I upgraded it to 32. Currently, I'm a little concerned for this machine. It's running a little bit slow. Everything is cleaned up, but it seems like something could be off with it. Anyway, a couple of weeks ago, I thought, you know what? It might be the year that I purchase a new iMac. And then, of course, there was an announcement yesterday about all of the specifications for the iMac, and I was really interested because this might be the year. Well, I'm not so sure. Okay, let me give you the specifications and my thoughts around that. First of all, the largest size they offer is 24 inch. I am used to working on a 27 inch. I actually have 2 27 inch machines, behind me. And going down to a 24 would not be the worst thing in the world. But when I switched from PC to Apple 100 years ago, I was actually accustomed to working on 2 monitors. I would typically have a 24-inch monitor and a 17-inch monitor, rotated portrait. I would put all of my Photoshop palettes on my 17-inch monitor, and I rotated it so that they would be even. And then my 24-inch monitor is where I did all of my work. It was actually very difficult for me to go from 2 monitors down to 1. But when I did, I was like, I have to have the biggest. I have to have the 27 inch because where am I going to put all of these palettes and things get in the way? So a 24 inch iMac, I'm like, not so sure about that. That is 100% personal preference. If you're used to working on a 24 inch monitor, then no big deal at all. I just don't know if I could go down to that size. Okay, but I was most interested in the performance because I cannot believe in 2021 that I am still waiting on applications to fire up, or I'm waiting for Photoshop to run an action or a script. I feel like it should be faster at this point, but it's not. Maybe my expectations are out of line. So I started reading this. Okay, this is the 8-core CPU with the new M1 chip for the iMac. So the M1 chip has been out for the laptops. And actually, side note, I have a friend that has a newer laptop with the M1 chip, and he says he is running Photoshop and Lightroom without any issues at all. So that is good news. Okay, this says The 8-core features the fastest CPU core in lower power silicon, and the 8-core GPU features the fastest integrated graphics in a personal computer. Okay, blah, blah, blah. When combined with its high efficiency unified memory architecture, and that was when I was like, oh, I had not done a ton of research on the M1 chip previous to this, so I didn't realize that it was unified memory. And unified memory means, in fact, that the GPU and the CPU are utilizing the same memory rather than having a separate memory, which means it's kind of, I don't know, baked into the chip. All right, that's not a real technical term. You're not going to be able to upgrade it. You're not going to be able to go to Otherworld Computing and order more sticks of RAM to upgrade your iMac for it to perform faster. Oh, bummer. Okay, so we are locked in to Apple's model with regards to this unified memory. All right, is that good or bad? I don't know, because I haven't been able to test the performance. I don't have one. But then I read on, and I'm like, okay, unified memory, 16-core Apple neural engine. I don't even know what that means. The new iMac delivers powerful performance when compared, okay, 85% faster CPU performance, so users can export their favorite video projects in iMovie faster. Okay, they use the example of iMovie and Final Cut Pro because those are typical memory hogs that move very slowly, much like a Photoshop or Lightroom scenario, and they are saying that it will perform better with those types of applications. And okay, it has a new camera, a better microphone, speakers. Okay, who cares? I mean, that's not something I care about. If you care about that, that's great. But I use my mics because I teach and record videos. And then they come at us with all of these colors. And that kind of made me think, although I see no problem whatsoever with a pink iMac. I mean, that's something I would dream about. But when I see that, it just makes me think that this is geared more towards, oh, here they are. Oh, so it's not pink. That this is geared more towards the consumer rather than the professional. Okay, that's just a feeling I get. That doesn't mean that's what it is. So I start reading some more, and I'm looking at price points, and then I find out that the most RAM you can have in an M1 chip is currently 16 gig. I am running 32 gig on this iMac, and I have a friend on the same iMac running 64 gig. Okay, I know I don't even have to read it to know exactly what Apple's going to say about this. They are going to say, we don't need as much memory because it is now unified and more efficient. I bet you any money they say something in here about okay, yeah, the GPU and CPU are working over the same memory. That's unified memory. It's different than what I've had in the past. It's been separate. Graphics resources, textures, images, geometry data can be shared between the CPU and the GPU efficiently with no overhead because there's no need. Okay, and that goes on with some more tech talk. And okay, and then it says, if you combine the efficiency of the unified memory architecture with the speed of SSD storage and consider most everyday use cases, I'm pretty sure that most regular users could get by with 8 gigabytes of unified memory, or if you want to be absolutely sure, upgrade to 16 gigabytes. Okay, do you hear the language there? Because I hear a lot of maybes. This is what it says. Consider most everyday use cases, most regular users. I don't know. Do you consider yourself a regular user? Because I don't. If you're using something like Photoshop and Lightroom, I'm using scripts, I'm using actions, I am absolutely processing video. I use a couple of different applications to do that. I consider us more than an average user, in which case I would absolutely recommend, if you go this route, I personally would recommend upgrading to the 16 gigabytes because I know, it's unified, it's more efficient, I can read. I just don't know how that plays out in real life until I get my hands on one and I try to run scripts in Photoshop. I just can't tell you how Lightroom is going to perform unless I'm able to test it. And they go on sale, I believe, next week at the end of the month. So it will be really interesting when some photographers start getting these new iMacs in their hands so that they can test, the latest operating system. So that will be the latest version of Big Sur with the latest version of Photoshop and Lightroom and determine the speed. Now, if somebody comes back to me and says the speed is amazing and I never have to wait, okay, that's great. Then unified memory for the win. I don't know. I don't know what that's going to look like. I just know I'm used to 32 gig of RAM. Would 16 be enough in this new architecture? Maybe not. That's a huge concern for me, but another concern is just the size. Going from the 27 inch to the 24 inch is something I don't know that I'm prepared to do, which means if this is all the case, and it is, I don't know that the iMac is going to be for me, which is really sad because, the only thing I can do after that is go with a Mac Pro, which ironically, before the iMac or the early incarnations of the iMac, I had Mac Pros. I had 2 Mac Pros, a 4-core and an 8-core back in the day. I think my 8-core, when we added extra RAM and did everything we needed to do, this was in, maybe 2008 or 9, whenever the 8-core came out, I can't remember. I spent approximately $7,000 on that machine, $7,000. And it lasted me a really long time. But then I didn't want to have a Mac Pro anymore. I wanted the iMac, so I got the iMac. Okay, so if we go then with Mac Pro, I'd have to look at those tech specs because to be honest, I haven't looked at it lately. Okay, yeah, I'm out. I just clicked it. The Mac Pro tower starting from $6,000. So here we go, Apple. It's either I do an iMac that is truly too small in terms of the size of the monitor. Maybe the memory works great and maybe it's efficient, maybe. And it's around, I think a $1,500 to a $2,000 price point. And then we jump to $6,000. What about in between? Isn't there something that we can have in between that could have us utilizing a bigger monitor and potentially more RAM based on how that's structured? Listen, I love the power and the idea of the Mac Pro. I don't think I need that much, but I do think I need potentially more. Is the Mac Pro, what is its memory structure? Currently, it says the Mac Pro is 32 gigabytes, 4 times 8. When I read that 4 times 8, that tells me 4 sticks of 8 gigabytes, which means you could replace it. It does not say anything about. I guess it's a different processing. It's the Xeon processor, 8-core. Okay, it's just different. It's different, and I don't know. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. If you are in the market for a new machine. By the way, I was talking to my son about this, he's 13 and he loves machines because he enjoys gaming and he's built his own machine and he's bought all of his own components and he understands the way everything works together way more than I do. And he looked at these specs and he looked at the price and he was like, well, that doesn't make sense to me. Why would you do that? You could get so much more bang for your buck with a PC. And I said, I know, but I'm in the ecosystem. Everything I have is an Apple product and I love it, but they still kind of make me crazy. So, okay. The bottom line is, I don't know how great it's going to be or not. We won't know until a few people get these in their hands and again start testing with Photoshop and Lightroom. It looks like it could be good and efficient based on what I've heard from the M1 users in the laptops. They say that Lightroom and Photoshop are working very well. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. I just don't know if I can go from a 27-inch monitor to a 24 and still organize all my palettes the way I like. I hope that you found this useful. I'll see you in the next video.